What if hiring could be easier, more streamlined, and less time-consuming, so even when you're busy, you could still be smart about the way you hire? With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click, so you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates. Then, ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting, so you receive the best possible matches. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you, it finds them. And it's no wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, it's the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by growing businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That is right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. That's ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M.
Sport Clips Haircuts Holiday Halftime Giveaway has cash for you this holiday season. Sport Clips is giving away $500 every day until December 15th. Visit sportclips.com/holiday to enter for your chance to win. No purchase necessary. Ends 12/15. Must be 18 or older to enter. Subject to official rules at sportclips.com/holiday. Void where prohibited.
I'd like to think we are the Sultans of Swing, but we're just moving on Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us. Presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests join the show. Pennzoil Performance Line. That is Dire Straits with the Sultans of Swing right there.
Yes, it is.
As they are one of the bands that have just been elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It is.
Yeah, they got it. Yeah, they got it.
And what's interesting is Reeves, whatever, tweeted to us that Dire Straits song was awful. Sultans of Swing, or Romeo and Juliet, much better. Y'all are better than that.
No, we're not really.
Hey,
are.
We didn't elect him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all right? Yeah. We're just announcing who was into the Hall of Fame.
Blame Cliff if you don't like the music.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Cliff's getting all the praise, so just blame
Cliff
every once in a while if you don't like the music.
Not our fault.
We don't control that.
We didn't do it.
So at Rives or Reeves, your beef is behind the glass.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's not with us.
We did nothing wrong.
Annette also says, thanks for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame list. Still shameful that Soundgarden still hasn't been nominated.
Not nominated. They weren't of the other group. I mentioned some of the nominees who didn't make it, which included the LL Cool J's, the Radioheads, the Zombies, Eurythmics, Depeche Mode, Kate Bush, Jay Giles Band.
Yep. Judas Priest.
Some that were, nominees but did not make it. You're going into the Hall of Fame, the award for early influence, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Then the performer category, you have Nina Simone, Moody Blues, Dire Straits, The Cars, and Bon Jovi. That's next April 14th in Cleveland at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's always going to be a great night.
By the way, Danny agrees with us. He says NWA in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yes, it should be the Music Hall of Fame, not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
but there's but then there's like popular music, country music, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds. I get it. So I know because you say rock and roll, you think of only certain aspects of music, but I think people all understand it and get it. But right. So I don't see a name change coming anytime soon.
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, do not.
Because they're going to listen to our little show and say, and
the point is, move along.
Thank you very much. And we will move along. Coming up later this hour, Robert Griffin III. Former Rookie of the Year in the NFL in 2012 and a former Heisman Trophy winner at Baylor University will join us.
You had him on NFL Live yesterday,
on NFL
right?
Live yesterday. Okay. We talked about a little bit about why he isn't playing this year and what his plans are for next year. We'll get into that with him. And he has some interesting takes on the situation in Philadelphia with Carson Wentz and what's going on there. He'll join us. And then Charles Barkley will join us in the 9 o'clock hour, as will Todd McShay. First post-college football regular season mock draft.
Mock draft, one of probably, 6 or 7 before the actual draft itself.
I believe the actual number is 7,433.2.
But we are going to hold him to this mock draft.
This is the one.
This is the one we will hold him to.
Well, we always talk about that with Todd. It's the same thing you and I have talked about. If you drafted now and then you drafted in April, how different they would be. And it really is amazing. But, that with what Adam Schefter has been hearing, what David Pollack had to say about Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, yeah.
I mean, look, there's some juice there. We'll see how much what he does in the college football playoff as well as the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see in this mock draft how many quarterbacks he has in the first round.
Boy, we could have 5.
Yeah,
that would be
going to be interesting.
Really make that first night really, really interesting. We have other things to get to, and let's do it with...
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not,
it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top in the NBA. His first game since May 14th when he was in the playoffs against the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference semifinals and then got hurt. Kawhi Leonard scored 13 points, but the Spurs lost to the Mavericks. But Leonard was a team best +8 in the 16 minutes he played.
Yeah, just a touch under 16 minutes, so they're working him back in, get in that shape again and get acclimated to the minutes. LaMarcus Aldridge led the way with 23 points, 13 rebounds. He's been leading that team in scoring and rebounds in the absence of Kawhi Leonard. So they went 19. We just talked yesterday about how they went 19-8 without him. Third in the conference, did so well without him. Get him back
with him.
And now they're 0-1 with him.
It's Kawhi Leonard's fault.
Obviously, that will not hold. That this team will find a way because that's what they do. That's what a Greg Popovich team does. You trust him like you trust a Bill Belichick.
Correct.
That they're going to work through all the things that they have and for when it counts the most, be ready to go.
And it may count a lot in their next game. It's in Houston on Friday, and it's on ESPN against the West leading Rockets. So we'll see how much they put Kawhi in for that game, which will be against a very tough opponent. We continue.
Off the top.
LeBron James doing LeBron James things. Leads the Cavs over the Hawks, 25 points, 17 assists. The 17 assists, by the way, Mike, tie for a career high.
And add 42 points off assists, so he had a 67 total points of the third most he's had in a game this season. They hit 23-pointers. That's a season high. They had a season-high 35 assists. It's their second game with at least 30 assists. The other came against the Hawks as well. And while Kawhi Leonard is the big story as one of the top players in the league, coming back and getting back into the flow of things, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and what they are trying to do, they need their puzzle pieces as well. And one of them came back last night, and that would be Tristan Thompson. He's been out since November 1st. Due to a calf injury, played just 6 minutes in his first game back. But in Cleveland, it's the oldest team out there, so you're always looking for that piece of the puzzle to help you. Tristan in the paint to help, so and getting him back and kind of getting him acclimated again, and will hopefully help them down the road.
Again, so lots going on there. We continue off the top.
Off the top.
With the unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis dominated the Lakers, scoring 37 points, 11 boards, blocking 5 shots, and making 5 3-pointers in the Knicks' overtime win. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, he's the first player in NBA history to have 35, 10, 5 blocks, and 5 made threes in a game.
Really incredible what he's doing at 7-3. Just amazing. It was actually Michael Beasley, though, in this overtime game, had 12 of the 13 points in the fourth quarter and overtime. He was 6 of 8 from the field after going 0 for 5 in the first 3 quarters, so he came up in money time. But Porzingis led us to a question. Trey asked it early on at Golic and Wingo. Would you rather have right now Kristaps Porzingis or Ben Simmons? You know what that vote is?
Yeah.
50-50.
Really good question.
You can't. We call Porzingis the unicorn for what he can do at 7'3", but how many 6'10" point guards have we had?
Not many.
The tallest one we're talking about is Magic Johnson, and he's one of the greatest players to ever play. Ben Simmons, of course, missed his first year because that's what you do with your 76er. You miss your first year. That's kind of how it goes.
Right.
But he is...
That's part of the process.
He is as advertised right now. I mean, with how he plays as a point guard and that big, they are a couple of freaks. It is incredible to watch. And we were all talking about when my son was here as well. You almost can't appreciate what guys that size do unless you're there watching them, because you watch it on TV, they all kind of look, the same size because they're playing against one another. But, man, when you see them up close and just how big they are and how athletic they are, it's incredible.
It really is, because everything's to scale on the court.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For example, you look at little guys in the NBA, a guy like Chris Paul, and then you see him in person and like, wow, you're taller than me and bigger than me, and you're the shortest guy on the court.
Exactly,
I mean, it's taking things out of the diorama, which is the court, and putting them somewhere else. It really is. It puts it in a different perspective.
So keep going on that vote right now. 50-50 of who would you rather have right now, Porzingis or Ben Simmons? Interesting question. Good question. Obviously has everybody split right now.
And we finish up
off the top
with good news in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers has been medically cleared to return to the Packers this week after missing the past 7 games with that broken collarbone on his right collarbone or his throwing collarbone. Packers are 7-6 and really play Carolina this week, that could determine greatly whether or not they're in the playoff hunt or not.
So this is interesting on the, for the outside looking in, well, even on the inside, quite honestly. Listen, you have a shot at the playoffs. I think it's still kind of a long shot. I even think with Aaron Rodgers, I would favor the Carolina Panthers the way they're playing right now, even though Aaron Rodgers coming off injury can be fantastic. He's proven that in the past. So I would play him now. You would play him now. But then I brought up the question to John Gruden. He, of course, would play him now. I said, okay, what if he plays and they lose? You have 2 more games, basically meaningless. You're not going to make the playoffs. Do you not play him? And I understand what he said, because his example was, he said, I asked Derek Brooks before our last game on the plane, we were coming home from our second to last game, hey, we basically have wrapped everything up. Do you want to sit this game, and chill out and get ready for the playoffs? And he said Derek Brooks looked at him like he was going to beat him up. Yep. So, A, there's bumps and bruises, but Derek Brooks wasn't coming off just getting hardware put on your collarbone. And B, I would whenever I hear you ask the player, I always think, well, that's a waste of time, because 99 out of 100, I'll never say completely 100, is every player going to, most players are going to say, I want to play. So isn't that where the coach should say, I know you want to play, but for the good of this team for next year, if for some reason Green Bay were to lose this week and you're not going to make the playoffs, hey, Aaron, I know you want to play, but the best thing for us is to probably sit you down and get you ready for next year.
Well, why would that be the best thing for the Packers, though? If they lose that game, if Aaron Rodgers, you're fearing him getting hurt again.
That's the only thought. Yes, he's just coming off the. Now he is. There is part of you that says, "Wait a minute, he's medically cleared to play. Right. Play him." Because the first thing I would ask the doctor is, does he have any more chance to re-injure that in this week or next September? And if the doc says, "Listen, if he lands on it the way he lands on it this week or next September,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter." So then you probably say, "Just go play." But there is part of you coming off of all that time off. If you're not going to be in the playoffs, you say, why risk it? Players always going to want to play. So asking a player is almost a futile thing, right? Because they're going to say, of course I want to play.
I think a lot of people are looking at what happened to Tony Romo in 2015. I almost said Tony 15. In 2015, where he broke that collarbone in a Week 2 win in Philadelphia. And then because the division was terrible and nobody was really pulling away, even though I think they were 3-8 at the time, they still mathematically had a chance to make it into the postseason, and they got him back for a Thanksgiving Day game against the Carolina Panthers. He was a little rusty, and then I think it was a Luke Kuechly hit that he re-broke that collarbone. And that really was sort of the end of the Tony Romo career, right? Because he came back from that, and the collarbone was healthy, and then he got the hit in the preseason game against Seattle up against the Seahawks in the Great Northwest, and that hurt his back, and that led to the Rain Dakota Prescott show, which is where we are now. Right. I just would imagine, unless the doctors would say, because the bone isn't completely healed, or maybe he needed another 3 weeks. But if he's out there, he's out there.
Well, that's the thing. If he's medically cleared to play, they're saying you're healthy enough to play. So you'd imagine if he's going to go back out there, he's going to be back out there for the rest of the season. We have a couple of questions on the Golic and Wingo, our Twitter page. We're turning into the Le Batard show as far as all the poll questions out there. We told you about the one, who would you rather have right now, Porzingis or Simmons? That's 50-50. Another one we asked because Devin Hester officially announced his retirement, and he has the most non-offensive touchdowns in NFL history with 20. He passed Deion Sanders, and he's ahead of Charles Woodson as well. They have 19 and 17, respectively. Is he a Hall of Famer? Right now, 53% say yes, 47% say no.
I'm surprised by that, actually.
Does it seem to you like the more info we pull up, the more it goes into the no category?
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised that more people are saying yes than no. Yeah. It is a very specific skill set that we're talking about here. It is. But it's a game-changing skill set.
It is. Punt returns, he's just at 12 yards. That rates 8th overall. Kickoff returns, he's at right about 25 yards. A kickoff return, that rates 67th. Overall. And the other question we have up, because we named the groups or the people that are going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, of which Cliff had basically none of the music ready for that. We had about 5 or 6 people going in, and Cliff
is killing the show. Clearly,
he maybe had music.
He's the anchor.
He maybe had music for 2 of them. We say, "Do you got Moody Blues?" No. "You got Dire Straits?" No. "I don't have anything." No. So we put up there grading Cliff today, and we went with emojis. Quite simply, thumbs up, thumbs down. That's how it went.
And how's it going?
My gosh.
Can you not see anymore?
54%, 53% it just went to. Dropped a percent while I was saying that. Still thumbs up.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Even on his bad day, he's the best part of the
Still
show.
getting a thumbs up.
We
How about
stink.
that?
Just want you to know. The rest of us stink.
There you go.
It's Cliff's World. We're just living in it. All right, so we'll have those throughout the show, and you can hit us up on our Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo. But now it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for
Fill in the blank with Golic and Wingo.
I wonder if any of these music's been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Any of the music, like for the off the top or fill in the blank.
That's when the Hall of Fame will be closing down.
Let's say, sir, no,
Yeah.
please. Do not come near our museum ever again. Okay, we start with a question that a lot of people in Philadelphia are wondering. With Carson Wentz out, blank are now the favorites to win the NFC.
Wow.
So you can go Vikings, Rams, Panthers, Saints, Seahawks, or Philadelphia.
There's part of me that wants to stay with Philadelphia. There really, really is. But if I go another team, I would probably, because he's been playing all year, it's not like he got thrown into it at the end. He's got two good wide receiver weapons in Thielen and Diggs, and a tight end in Rudolph, a great red zone target, and then they have an excellent defense. I know they just got beat.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I would say the Minnesota Vikings are to pick a team.
I can't disagree with that pick. I think they're the only team in the NFL that still has a top 5 offense and top 5 defense. And when you talk about balance, and you talk about if you have to mitigate some issues with the quarterback, not that there's been any issues at all so far with Case Keenum. I mean, look, people are getting after him about that game. Well, at one point, 3 of his starting 5 offensive linemen were out.
And that showed. I mean, that's something they have to get healthy or be able to work around, because I did pick him as a quarterback of a team over the likes of a Cam Newton, a Drew Brees, a Russell Wilson. So who do you go with?
Actually, right now, after that game, the Vikings are outside the top 5 in total offense in terms of yards per game. They're now 7th, so that dropped a little bit. I think I might still go with Philadelphia.
Part of me really wanted to,
and I'll tell you why, because they're going to have. It looks like, barring a meltdown, because they're 11-2. They're probably going to get home field advantage. They got the Giants. They're at the Giants, then they got the Raiders on a Monday night, and home for the Cowboys. They win 2 of those games. We're looking at home field advantage for sure. You know what? The way they've played this year. The running game has been such a big part of their success. I know that Carson Wentz has set the franchise record for most touchdown passes in a season, but if you look at a lot of those games, it was all set up by a really powerful running game, which allowed Carson to make some of those throws. And I don't think Nick is going to make as many of those throws, but when you have that 4-headed beast at running back, they're 2nd in the league in running behind only Jacksonville, who rely heavily on Leonard Fournette. They got 4 different guys that can do it. I think that's going to help them a lot. I think that's really going to help them a lot. I may lean still towards Philadelphia. As Fill in the Blank is brought to you by Mahindra Tractors and Utility Vehicles. Mahindra USA, the world's #1 selling tractor. Okay, Antonio Brown is setting the world on fire.
He is.
We pretty much know that. The last non-quarterback to win an MVP was Adrian Peterson, I believe, a few years ago, but it's 2012. But it's basically been a quarterback run in and around that. So Antonio Brown has a blank chance to win MVP this year.
Would you say right now the only 2 quarterbacks that you would put on the list to be MVPs would be Tom Brady and Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Is that where you'd go right now?
Keenum's going to get some votes, and it'll depend on how he finishes up these last 3 games. Because Carson Wentz, I think, was the prohibitive favorite.
I agree with that. You have Russell Wilson leading the way. Wentz led at 33, but as far as healthy playing quarterbacks, Russell Wilson is 29-11, Tom Brady 27-6. So you look from that, you look at those 2 guys. Antonio Brown leads the league in reception. He has 99 receptions.
It's crazy.
Off 160 targets. He leads the league in yards. He has over 1,500 yards. And he's 2nd in touchdowns with 9. DeAndre Hopkins has 11. So you look from that standpoint. Then you go to rushers. Le'Veon Bell leads the league with over 1,100 yards rushing with 7 touchdowns. So is he in there? Kareem Hunt has 1,000 yards. I don't think he's going to be in that.
So what percentage would you put it at?
Man, since Wentz went out, you have Tom Brady 2 so-so games. Russell Wilson, they're coming off of a loss. Antonio Brown, man, I want to give him a decent shot. I really do. This could be a year. I'll say 25%.
25%?
25%.
Yeah, I'll go maybe 33%, because here's the issue. Look, Tom Brady passed Ben Roethlisberger for yards in the Monday night win, but right now Ben is 2nd in passing yards, just about 115, I think, behind Tom Brady. Le'Veon Bell leads the league in rushing yards, and Antonio Brown leads the league in receiving yards. We've never had a season where on one team you had the passer with the most yards, the rusher with the most yards, and the receiver with the most yards. And I think because of that, that may hinder
take away
Antonio Brown and his MVP candidacy. The other thing there is he's scored a bunch of touchdowns late, but he had very few for a majority of the season. They're coming in bunches now for Antonio Brown. Look, if he has 3 against the Patriots and maybe another 2 or 3 down the stretch, you could make the case. But I think because there's so much balance on that offense, I don't think he has more than a 33% chance of doing it. We go on to fill in the blank, and we've talked about this a lot. One word to describe Devin Hester's career is?
I'm going to use 2 words. I'm going to go away from this.
The question was one word.
I can't figure out one word that means field flipper.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's an actual. It's a compound word.
Okay,
we'll make it a compound
field
word.
Flipper because you average 12 yards of punt return, depending on where you catch it, 25 on a kickoff return. More really on the averaging that. So obviously he had some less than that, but way more than a few more than that. We know he has 20 touchdowns, but even if he's not scoring touchdowns, he's getting longer returns. That's going to flip the field, and that's what you look for out of your special teams. Whether you're trying to bury someone inside the 10 or inside the 20-yard line or be able to bring it back and give your offense good field position, that's something I think he did extremely well.
I'm going to go with interesting because in the context that we're talking about it, it's an interesting discussion, about whether or not something that somebody does a thing better than anybody else, although in a very limited sort of window, for lack of a better term, or how much it actually plays a part in a game. But if you hit it, it changes everything.
Life happens. With ADT, you can feel safe with an ADT starter kit professionally installed for only $49. Call today and install an ADT starter kit that includes security panel, keypad, key fob, entry and motion sensors, and for a limited time, get a camera included and installed at no additional cost. That's a $449 value installed for just $49.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract QSB and easy pay activation. Early term fees may apply. Certain marks excluded. License available at ADT.com. Florida EF001121. UVZ F1669.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Rocking through on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And then we are joined in the studio every once in a while by the likes of greatness. RG3 joins us in the studio to give us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. I got to say, you got to be a little intimidated right now. Baylor winner, Heisman Trophy on the right of you, just Baylor grad on the left. But we're here.
We're Baylor grad on the left.
Yeah. Know my place, know my role. Know my place, know my role.
Welcome to you.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
And I like Matt Rule. I know it was a tough year for them, and certainly there's some things to overcome out there. But I do like Matt Rule, and I do think he can get things going there. I want to add, there's no way this fits to you because you are a great athlete already. But as I just said in that sports center, to be something like a Porzingis, I would probably take a LeBron for one day to be able to be 6'8", 260, 270, and do everything that he could do, do anything. I'm trying to think of a person for one day that you would want to be in another sport that you would. I know some people say like Tiger for one tournament in his heyday. To shoot that well.
I would have that feeling in my hands as I hold the club to know I could flight the ball any way I wanted. Sign me
who you would want to be for one day and be that great in a different sport than what you play.
That's a very interesting question.
That's a radio question.
That's a very radio question. I think everybody wants to do something that they're just not very good at. So for me, it'd probably be either tennis or soccer. So I'd either want to be Roger Federer or Messi.
See, there you go.
Those are two very good ones. Very good ones.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to. You want to do what you can't do, and those are two things.
That's exactly right.
That's why they put me on radio. I want to do what I can't do.
Yeah.
Robert Griffin III with us
trying
here
to work past that.
on Golic and Wingo. Okay, unfortunately for you, you are very familiar with what Carson Wentz, the Eagles quarterback, is going through. You suffered an ACL tear at Baylor, and then again in 2012 in the wild card game against the Seahawks when the knee gave way after being injured in that hit that Haloti Ngata put on you.
Correct.
So what advice would you give Carson about coming back from this? Because, again, it happened in December. He wants to be ready for week 1. You were all in for week 1 in 2013.
Correct.
What would you tell him about what to expect and what's real and what's not?
He got injured a little bit earlier than I did. What I would tell Carson is do exactly what he said he's going to do. Continue to work hard, come back stronger. He has that belief. He knows why he plays the game. He knows everything that around him is stable. His team is stable. His organization is stable. So I don't think there's a problem with him wanting to be ready for week 1 at all. Just like when I was coming back, I didn't think there was a problem with me wanting to be ready for week 1. But his job is to do everything he possibly can to get his body right. And the coaches and the organization's job is to say, look, we're going to pump the brakes and not bring you back this quick, or say, look, he passed all the tests. The doctors say he's good in 9 months. Let the kid go.
So a couple of things I want to ask on that. First, and I've said this to people who would ask, a doctor can tell you you're physically ready to go.
Correct.
How about the mental hurdle?
Yeah.
How is that hurdle of trusting what the doctor said and all the rehab you did to actually go do that on the field?
I think, they say playing the game is 90% mental, so the mental aspect of that is extremely huge. Mm-hmm. And as a player, nobody can tell you how you feel. You see guys a lot of times pull themselves out of games or put themselves on IR because they just don't feel right. So I think that mental aspect for him is going to be those second reaction plays when he gets back out on the field, those things that aren't planned. In rehab, you can take a 3-step drop and roll to the right and make a throw because you know you're going to do that.
And nobody hitting you.
Nobody's hitting you. But when you get on the field and you have a guy like a Haloti Ngata or, for me, DeMarcus Ware, these guys are coming at you, those are things that are not planned. You have to react. And that is where the knee injury really comes in because you can't see your knees.
Right.
You can see your shoulders, your collarbones, and all that, but you can't see your knees, and you got to trust that it's going to be there. I think he'll get there.
So that leads me to the next question. So now you get over the mental hurdle. Now it's the physical aspect of the game again. And forgetting like pocket passers because they're not really leaving the pocket anyway. For guys like yourself, like Wentz that will move when he has to, for quarterbacks that will move, run a Cam Newton, if you get a major injury, is there any thought process to, I have to stop doing some of that, I have to keep doing some of that, somewhere in between? How do you go about that?
I think you cannot do that. For Carson and Deshaun Watson, what they have to realize is their ability to move is what makes them great right now. So use that as long as you can. I'm 27. I can still move around. Those guys are younger than me. They can still move around even after they come back from the injury. So they have to make sure that they continue to utilize that. Over the years, you will develop, and you'll become better as a pocket passer. And then you won't have to use your legs as much, but you want to keep that threat. It's what allowed Philly throughout the whole year to use those RPOs, those run-pass options, to make those easy throws, those easy slants with the backers coming up and play-action passing going deep like Deshaun Watson was doing.
So real quick on that, sorry, Trey, real quick,
Trey's not here.
I'm sleeping.
The RPOs or the read options that Wentz would do, should they just not do them? And because there's no threat, Foles is going to keep the ball. So do you have to? Is it become more about just the play calling as opposed to the player?
Obviously there's some things that Nick won't be able to do. That Carson did.
I mean, who's thinking he's pulling the ball and running?
I don't think anybody's ever called Nick Foles a fleet-footed, quick release quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's what Carson can do. But there's many ways to skin a cat. So they can keep the RPOs in. There's just not going to be as much quarterback run RPOs.
That's what I meant more of the read option.
It may be handoff or throw as opposed to handoff, throw, or run.
Right.
And I think you can still run those, and they're built to do this. But, they can also go under center and just hand the ball off to Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount and be fine.
They got 4 running backs, second best rushing attack in the NFL. Robert Griffin III with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Want to talk a little bit about something that was a bright spot for the Cleveland Browns, and that was the return of Josh Gordon, a guy you know well from your time at Baylor.
JG.
He obviously has had a lot to deal with, and he sort of laid it out there in that one interview where he was dealing with these substances his entire life. He's only 26 years old. What do you think the upside still is for Josh?
I mean, JG is part of the reason that I ended up going to Cleveland. I really believed in Hugh Jackson and Pep Hamilton and the vision that they had, and I know he wanted me to be there. this year. I just didn't fit the analytics. But JG is
the
guy.
The analytics guy isn't there anymore, so don't worry about it.
Hey. JG is a guy that the sky is the limit. I think everybody says that. If you meet him and you knew him while he was at Baylor, or anybody that's come in contact with him, you know he's a great guy. He's not a guy that's just out there doing bad things. He's made mistakes and he's had problems with addiction. And I think that's a serious issue. It's not something you just push him to the side and say, we're going to give up on you. So I'll never give up on Josh. I think that now that he's back playing, that's the best thing for him.
You know, he went on in great detail, talked about going back to his days in college where he was selling, and then he went in the pros, and maybe even in college, I can't remember, but I definitely remember in the pros he either had a drink or a hit before every game. Were you guys aware of all of that at all that was going on at Baylor?
This is the beauty and the curse of it.
Yeah.
We knew what Josh was going through. We tried to help Josh. Yeah. But Josh got to a point now where he wanted to help himself. And that's where I've been most proud of him. Because he'll tell you, I've told him things in the past that he didn't want to hear.
Right.
He just didn't want to hear him. And you know how it is. You send somebody a text message, they don't respond because you're trying to be honest with them and be there for him. And that's why Josh is a brother to me. He'll always be family because, I care about the guy. And I'm excited for him. I'm happy that he's back out on the field playing. And I think that him coming to the realization that what he was doing was going to kill him before it helped him. And now he's making the right steps to get himself back out on the field and ball out.
Let's hope that, he's been getting a few chances. Let's hope, it sticks and he has way more life to live than football. And God knows he's an unbelievable talent on the field. Let's just hope off the field goes well for him as well. As far as your position, the quarterback position, RG3 joining us again, Heisman Trophy winner at Baylor, Pro Bowler 2012, Rookie of the Year in 2012. So coming from college to pros, it obviously worked well for you, that transition. Right. How do you look at the quarterbacks now? They're talking about the possibility of maybe 5 in the first round, from bigger guys like the Darnolds and Rosens and Allens to the Baker Mayfields, a little smaller on the smaller size, of how they transition to the NFL and how the NFL helps them transition. Can you take us through where that is now?
I think it all depends on where you land. I think it all depends on what coach you end up with. You look at Carson; they said he needs a big pocket to throw the ball, and Philly put together an offense for him that allowed his talents to be showcased. Baker Mayfield's a shorter guy, but I'm a strong believer in if you have success in the college level, you can be successful in the pros. It's all about getting in the right situation, getting with the right team, and I think whatever teams draft these guys, they got to be sold on them. You can't draft a guy and have half the organization not like him and half the organization love him, especially if you're going to give up picks or draft him high in the first round. But these teams, they'll figure that out. I think when you have split organizations, things, can go downhill extremely fast. But they're all talented players, and I know when they get into the league, they'll be very excited, and it's a dream come true for them.
Hey, look, stick around. We got a lot more to talk to you about.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We roll on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Delighted to continue to have RG3 in the studio with us here, and Robert Griffin III will join us also today on NFL Live, part of his 2-part stay here, the ESPN car wash, where you go through a million things, as we call it. Whenever people come up here, we're going to get every single ounce of you we got. We're going to put you on every show and do all that. So you've been prepared for that, right?
I've been prepared.
Okay.
I've been ready for this. It's great to be with you guys.
It is great to have you here, but you're here because you're not playing in the NFL in 2017. You had some opportunities.
Correct.
You told us yesterday on NFL Live, but you felt like you didn't find the right fit. What about those opportunities didn't feel right for you?
I feel like I need to be with the right coach and the right organization. And the opportunities that I mentioned yesterday, it's not that it wasn't the right coach or the right organization. It just wasn't the right fit for me at the time. You can't go somewhere where you're going to be competing with 4 guys and you're the last guy in. There's no way you're going to get those opportunities. That's what initially happened for me. And I had to make a decision and say, look, do I want to just get in there and just be another guy and be around, or do I need to be patient, wait, and trusting God's timing. So I decided to trust in God's timing, and I knew that wasn't the right move for me at the time. But that's why I'm sitting here today, and I understand that.
So when you get back in and get another chance, outside of the injuries, which are very, very tough to control, the on-the-field X's and O's, the way you play the game, the way the NFL is being played, what are the biggest things you have learned and can use as learning tools for your next opportunity?
Yeah, I think it's mostly the preparation that goes into being a quarterback in the NFL. It's time. It's time sensitive. You have to put in the work to make sure that the product that you put out there on the field is sufficient to what you can do. And I think as a player, you have to know who you are. So I know what my weaknesses are, I know what my strengths are, and I've worked on those weaknesses to make them my strengths through this time of being out of football and just watching the game from a different perspective. You have to love it.
Right.
When you're away from it, if it doesn't hurt you, then you don't love the game. And I love the game, and that's why I'm here today to talk about it, to show you guys, show everybody that I'm still locked in and I'm ready to go. But also at the same time, I miss it.
Do you need to be or want to be with someone at the start of the off-season program, which would be second, third week of April, need to be on the team then?
Yeah, I think that would be ideal. You want to get in, you want to get to know the coaches, you want to get to know the team, be able to go through a whole off-season program and be able to put your best foot forward. I think that is obviously a goal for me. There's going to be a lot of change this offseason in the NFL, and it's just about making sure you get in where you fit in.
Robert, when people say you want to make sure you're with the right coach, a lot of people would listen to you say that and say, well, is he talking about a situation in Washington with Mike Shanahan where it didn't feel like it was always the right fit between you guys? Is that sort of part of your framing here of that answer?
No, I think, in 2012 when I came in and we had all the success that we had and we won the division and all the accolades that came along with that, it was the right coach. People got to realize Mike Shanahan was my dream coach. I was a Broncos fan growing up, okay? These guys are the guys.
In Copperas Cove, Texas.
In Copperas Cove, Texas. I'm a military kid. So when you start watching sports, typically you tend to teeter towards the teams that are doing well. And at that time, the Broncos were everything. Right. So I was a Broncos fan. Mike Shanahan was my dream coach. So it was unfortunate for me to see what ended up happening there, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. In 2012, they catered the offense towards me. We ran plays that guys on the team didn't even understand what the plays that we were running, but we practiced them all off season and we did those types of things. And I need to be in a situation where it's going to bring the best out of me. That's allowing me to use not only my arm and the deep playability, but also to use my legs. So that's more so what I'm talking about. It's not taking a shot at anybody.
For looking at the league as a whole, with all the attrition that has gone on with the injuries we've seen, where do you see the teams right now as the top teams, the teams you think legitimately have the shot to go all the way?
I mean, I think, if you look at it this week, we were talking about this, yesterday, Trey, that the teams that lost this past week are the teams that are typically the ones that everyone's looking at to do well in the playoffs.
Right.
And the team that won in Philly, they lost their quarterback, but they still have the team around Nick Foles to help them make that Super Bowl run. I think you can't go wrong when you pick the Patriots, when you pick the Steelers, when you pick Philly. But there's some dark horse candidates too, and nobody wants to see Jacksonville. Nobody wants to see Carolina because if Cam Newton's on, they're hard to beat. If Jacksonville's defense continues to play the way
beating the snot out of you,
nobody wants to see those teams. So, the Giants, they go 9-7, they go win the Super Bowl. You never know what's going to happen in the playoffs, and it's all about when you get there, who has the least amount of weaknesses.
Yeah, we got just about a minute left before we got to get out, but you said a dream. Mike Shanahan was your dream coach because you grew up as a Bronco fan. In a dream scenario in 2018, Robert Griffin III is playing quarterback and competing for the number one job where?
I mean, it'd be hard for me to put a finger on which team that would be, and it's due to all the change that's gonna happen this offseason. Right. But the dream situation is to be playing football. Yeah. That is a dream situation.
Well, look, we've loved having you here for the last 2 days, and we'll see you on NFL Live later on today.
Right.
But
they're working you, man.
They are working me, but hey, you guys work well together, so
Well, that's because we hate each other, and it's the natural conflict that comes out.
Typically, that's what happens.
And I got off the TV side so I can dress down.
By the way, this part I like. Yeah. Once it gets warmer, flip-flop Fridays.
Oh,
baby.
shorts and flip-flop
Fridays. Little zinc oxide on the nose.
The margaritas come out.
That's Wino Wednesday.
Yeah. You're wearing
Thirsty Thursdays.
My guy's wearing flip-flops. No sliders. Okay.
We are going to make it casual. We hope to eventually have so much food in here, vermin are running free in
there
the
you
studio.
go.
Eventually, you're going to be wearing mandals. I can't believe it.
I got about 8 pairs of mandals. I got it.
Of course you do.
RG3,
Thanks,
I'll see you on
Robert.
NFL Live later.
All
Coming
right,
up
guys.
last hour, Charles Barkley and Todd McShay on Mock Draft number 1. Stay with us.
What if hiring could be easier, more streamlined, and less time-consuming, so even when you're busy, you could still be smart about the way you hire? With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click, so you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates. Then, ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you, it finds them. And it's no wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, it's the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by growing businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That is right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. That's ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M.
Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated, but there is a better way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. And right now, get $20 off your first purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code WINGO today.
Charles Barkley, TNT NBA analyst, joins us now. Charles, we appreciate you being with us. We know we've been through a lot in your home state of Alabama over the last 24 hours or so, so we do appreciate you getting up early with us. How are you this morning?
Well, man, I'm just excited. Number one, congratulations on the new show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm just so proud of the people in Alabama for rising up, and congratulations to Doug Jones.
All right, so that was the big result in the election there. But let's talk about the NBA now and what's going on here, Charles. Paul George returns to Indiana tonight. First time since he left in the offseason. It's going to be on our air. What do you remember most about the first time when you returned to Philly after leaving Philly? Because you were an icon in that city.
Well, I think it's emotional. It's very emotional because you meet some great people. I mean, because you kind of I was in Philly for 8 years. You get to know the fans. They become your friends. I mean, really good friends. But I remember telling my team, the Suns, I said, hey, man, I love y'all. I love being in Phoenix. But if y'all lose this game, I'm going to kill everybody in this locker room after the game. We better beat these guys. That's the last thing I told them before the game. I said, if we lose this game, y'all are not flying back to Phoenix with me.
Oh, I love that. How about the Thunder, that team, with that mixture of players that they have and how they came together, and it's just not happening right now, sitting at 12-14, favored in 25 games and have lost 14 of them. Why is it not working for them in this group right now?
So they don't have a good team. I said 6 weeks ago, they're not going to have a good team because they don't have enough diversity. You have 3 guys who need the ball, and it's only one basketball out there. You have 2 other guys who are just standing around. I said from the beginning I didn't think it was going to work. I'm not surprised at all. You go back and look at the tape. I said they're not going to be very good. Mike, when I got traded to Phoenix, I was so happy to play with Dan Marley and Kevin Johnson, Mark West, and those guys. But when Kevin or Dan had it going, I was content to get some rebounds. I wasn't a good defender, but I was content getting 17, 18 rebounds. Those guys, they're all just scorers. So they don't bring any diversity to the table. One can't say, hey, you know what? Russ got it going tonight. I'm going to just get a bunch of rebounds. But they don't do that. They all are scorers. Russ is the man, but those other 2 guys, they're just primary scorers, and that's it.
Well, so you don't think there's any way they can get this to work? Because I'm sure a lot of fans were really excited about the 3 of those guys together, but you don't see any way with what these players, those 3 players like to do, that they can find a way to make it work and become a better team?
No, I don't think it can work at all. I mean, listen, there's only basketball. You got all these fools out of here who believe in analytics. Analytics only work when you have Clay, Steph, and Kevin Durant. That's the only time analytics work. And it works with the Rockets because James is fabulous and, they got a bunch of scores. But you got to have guys who can do different things. And they don't have guys who can do different things. They can all score, but you can't say one guy's a great defender, one guy's a great rebounder. They're just all great scorers, and it's never going to work. So it's going to be a failed experiment in the end.
As far as guys coming back from injury, we talked about Kawhi Leonard, a team that went 19-8. He didn't play in the first 27 games of the year from that ankle injury last year. He played 16 minutes last night in their loss. Talk about coming back from an injury, in this case a lower body injury for a basketball player, and how you do need to bring it along. 16 minutes this first game. How many minutes you think the next game, and when a guy like that can get at full strength?
Well, the toughest thing, Mike, is getting your confidence back, being able to explode. I had a couple knee surgeries, and I was scared to, jump with all my energy. So, Pop is the greatest, he's right up there with Phil Jackson as the greatest coach ever. He's going to manage his minutes. But the number one thing, he just got to get confidence in his body. Because, like I say, a couple times I had knee injuries, I was scared to jump with all my energy because I was like, this thing going to give again. But it will come. It just takes a little time.
We talked a little bit with Charles Barkley about what's happening with Paul George tonight when he goes back to Indiana. And then, of course, Chuck, they go to New York on Saturday, and that'll be Carmelo's first time back there. What do you expect the reaction is going to be when Carmelo goes back to the Garden?
Well, I think it'll be a little bit different because the way the Knicks have disrespected him, it was unbelievable the last year or so. But it's going to be emotional, like I say, because you get to know these fans. When you're in a city for a long, extended period of time, you know everybody who's on the front row. You you play golf with guys all summer, so you develop a lot of close friendships. But I tell you, it's interesting how, everybody keeps telling you who's great players, who's great players, who's the great players. There's only 2 or 3 great players. Everybody in the NBA can play. Everybody in the NBA can play. But there's 5 great players because you can see how some of these teams are playing better without these quote-unquote great players. Like I say, all these guys are good players, but I get sick and tired of people telling me who's a great player because some of these teams are doing much better without their quote-unquote superstars.
Talking to Charles Barkley, TNT NBA analyst, also, if you all that remember, an All-American center at Auburn, NBA MVP in '93, 11-time NBA All-Star, and one of those great players without question would be LeBron James. But in a general question, LeBron is playing extremely well right now for all the miles and he has on his legs and his number of years in the NBA. We've been reading a lot and hearing a lot about Tom Brady and what he's doing at 40 and other quarterbacks that say they feel good enough to play into their 40s. Do you think this will expand to a very physical running sport and physical sport like the NBA, where in today's age where guys and their nutrition and the resting a little more and making the NBA season a little longer, all the things maybe at their disposal, could you see players in the NBA lasting longer than they did?
Well, first of all, Father Time is always going to win in the long run. But, the difference is, Mike, the game is less physical. Has nothing to do with guys taking better care of themselves. Listen, guys have always taken care of themselves. Do these guys have some extra stuff? Yeah, maybe they do. But the reason they can play longer, they've turned the game into a 3-point shooting contest, and there's no physicality. That's the reason guys are, playing at a high level. Some of these guys are playing at a high level. There's no physicality in the game anymore. It's becoming a jump shooting contest. LeBron's amazing. I mean, he's one of the 10 greatest players I've ever seen in my life. But the reason these guys are play like this now is, like I say, nobody can hit you anymore. You kind of just run up and down the court in a 3-point shooting contest. That's the difference. But nobody ever beats Father Time. Father Time is always going to win in the long run.
By the way, it kind of sounds like the NFL defense now. You can't hit anybody anymore.
I knew you were
I had to
that
get
one.
it in there. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's things have changed in both your sport and his sport, that's for sure. That's why that debate is always interesting when you talk about Michael Jordan's Bulls and the Warriors, and the question is, which rules are you playing by?
Right.
The ones that the Bulls played by or the ones that the Warriors now play by, so you can get all those free threes. Hey, obviously, Charles, LaVar Ball's in the news for a couple of reasons right now with the Lakers asking him to sort of tone it down a few weeks ago, as Ramona Shelburne reported. And then, of course, he's got the two kids that aren't playing for the Lakers moving over to play pro ball in Lithuania. When you heard that, these are two kids, 16 and 19 years old, what was your reaction?
I just feel sadness. That the media, CNN, ESPN, has given this guy a platform. He represents everything that's bad about sports. It's all about him. I just feel bad for those kids because, everybody talk about he might be a good father, this and that. No, he's not. He's just exploiting his kids. His kids, I love the kid playing for the Lakers. I don't know the other two kids. He's all about big baller brand. He has no foreseeable talent. He's trying to make money on his kids. And I just feel sadness for those kids because they're going to do whatever he tells them to do. And I just don't like the guy at all, plain and simple. And don't tell me he's a good father. Just because you exploit your kids trying to make money because you have no talent, that does not make you a good father. That makes you exploiting your kids. And I don't like the guy at all, and I wish they would quit putting him on television because he has no talent whatsoever.
The one thing that we talk about whenever we bring that up is, well, hopefully the kids can make something out of it. Lonzo Ball is already, showing some great signs, obviously, in the NBA. So let's talk about it from the basketball side of where they're going. They're going to go play, obviously, overseas, so that means they're not playing the one who's in high school, ain't going back to high school, can't go to college. The college kid can't go back to college. So this is their lot right now. How tough is this road? Certainly we've seen other, obviously, foreign players play European ball and come over and play in the NBA. How tough is this road for basketball players to go through to try and get back to the NBA?
I don't know enough about I do know Lithuania. They got a great basketball heritage. If you go back and look at the 1992 Dream Team that I was fortunate to be part of, they were one of the elite teams that we played. I don't know anything about that league or how it is. But like I say, first of all, I wish there was a place farther away from America they could send him. I don't know where Lithuania is, but if there's another place farther away, I would love to. First of all, I would never leave my kids over there. If he's a legit father, he should stay over there with those kids the entire time. That would prove something to me. People want to say he's a great father. Well, stay over there with those kids. I would never send my two teenage kids to Lithuania and then show back up in the United States the next day. I would stay with my kids if I was a good father. But like I say, I just feel bad for those kids. And I'm sick of CNN and ESPN putting this food on television all the time.
Well, just know if you listen to this show, this is one show that isn't going to do that. So you have that for you, Charles.
Yeah, that much we can guarantee you. So we'll move on to what's happened Friday here. Friday, ESPN goes all access with the Philadelphia 76ers, a full day of exclusive coverage across all of our platforms. Doris Burke's going to have a one-on-one with Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid will be live on First Take with Stephen A. They're still missing Markelle Fultz, the top pick from this year, but when you see Embiid and Simmons out there, where is the ceiling for this Sixers team as you see it right now?
What did Michael Jordan say a few years ago?
The ceiling
and
is
everybody
the roof.
made fun of it.
Yeah, the ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof. They got no ceiling. Those two kids, I think they're both tremendous people. I love what the Sixers are doing. I think they got a bad rap the last few years when people said they were tanking. I don't think they were tanking. I think they were just trying to build through the draft, and the two best players in the draft just got hurt. I think if you look at it realistically, if Embiid had played or Simmons had played, they would have been 20 games, maybe 30 games better. And I think they got a bad rap of being accused of tanking. And let me tell you something, the Sixers for the next they're not going to win a championship this year or next year, but they're going to be perennial contenders for the next. If both of those kids stay healthy, they're going to be perennial contenders for the next 10 years in about 3 years.
Charles, we put on a poll question at Golic and Wingo on our Twitter page. Who would you rather have right now? Would you rather have Porzingis right now or Ben Simmons right now?
Ooh, man.
We got Charles double clutching. This is good. This is good.
By the way, it's 51. I won't tell you who it's in favor of, but right now the vote is 51-49, so it's that close to everybody. We got a lot of votes.
Hey, let me tell you something. That's one of the best questions ever. Man, you know what? that's kind of like if somebody asks you, do I want Halle Berry or J-Lo? I don't care. I got the second pick in the draft. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, the vote is 51% Porzingis, 49% Simmons. I would take Simmons. I mean, they're both freaks, but, man, the last big point guard we were talking about like that was Magic Johnson. That worked out pretty well, and this kid is just a freak. I would take both of them. I'm with you on that, but, man, that's two kids with really bright futures.
You know, the reason I might go for Porzingis because he's a better scorer. I mean, because Simmons is going to have to improve his jump shot and his free throws. I mean, I watched that Hacker Simmons about 2 weeks ago when he shot 24 free throws in one quarter, right, and they turned a 30-point lead into a nail-biter. He's going to have to improve his offense. That's the only difference why I might take Porzingis, but it's very close.
Well, it certainly is, and like to that point, the shooter is usually what you're looking for, and the three is more than two. We've seen how that works out with Golden State. Charles, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Charles.
Hey, guys, keep up the great work, and congratulations on the new show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It is my favorite time of the year because we get the first post-mock draft from Todd McShay after the regular season, which really means the countdown to the draft is on.
I know how much he loves doing these. Love it. Because we're holding you to this one. Of your 6 mock drafts,
it's probably going to be the best one.
We're going to hold you to this one the most.
Well, Todd and I talk about this all the time. The mock drafts now, if you just did a draft right now as opposed to the draft that comes in April, how different they would be, right?
They're going to be different.
Yeah.
They will be significantly different. And, first of all, it's team needs with free agency. Guys are going to change teams, and all of a sudden, if you need a tackle, you go get one free agency, and you need a different position. So that's part of it. And then, right or wrong, well, first of all, I have a lot of tape to still catch up on. NFL teams are still going through that process as well. And then the scary part, though, is when you start really looking at the all-star games, and much more so with the combine and the individual workouts. That's when I think a lot of mistakes are made, or, it's not like the old days. It's not, we don't have the Mike Mamulas necessarily anymore. But I think the last thing you're focusing on for a couple months is the numbers, the workouts, and the private stuff compared to just the football. And sometimes you can leads you astray with your evaluation.
So let's look at this. We have the rest of the half hour or two after Todd leaves to go through more of this first round. But let's look at the quarterbacks. So in your first 5 picks, you have 3 quarterbacks going. Number 1 to the Browns, you have Sam Darnold. Number 2 to the Giants, you have Josh Rosen, UCLA. Number 3 to the Colts, you have the pass rusher Bradley Chubb from North Carolina State. Number 4 to the 49ers, their DB Minkah Fitzpatrick from Alabama. And number 5 to the Broncos, Josh Allen, the quarterback from Wyoming. You do have a 4th quarterback going in the first round. Number 19 to the Chargers, that would be Baker Mayfield of Oklahoma. first and foremost, I would ask, what are the percentages you think, and I know it's purely a guess here, that Sam Darnold actually decides to go back to school?
I would guess maybe 70-30 that he's going to leave at this point. And 30 is a pretty high percentage considering he just has a tough decision to make. I mean, let's just be honest. If he goes back to school, I think it will benefit him for the long term. I think he'll have an offensive line that will be better than this year, where they lost 3 guys to the NFL from their starting group last year and had 3 more injuries. Against UCLA, no, in the Pac-12 championship game, they're on their 3rd right guard.
Right.
So he started to lose trust in his protection, started to see some ghosts, feel some ghosts in the pocket, and I think his footwork regressed this year as a result. He still can be the Sam Darnold that we've seen, that we saw last year, and we saw a little bit more of towards the end of the season this year. His receivers were really young, and they got and they developed as the season went on, and the rapport got better. So he started to play good football the second half. The last 5 games, if you look at it, I think it's like 9-2 touchdown interception ratio, 64% completion. So he's playing better, but I think he'll be in better shape to succeed in the NFL if he goes back to school for another year. But
was Trubisky, and he still went because the money was
How do you turn down $20+ million?
Well, listen, Michael Vick wasn't ready to come to the NFL, but you're not getting higher than the number 1 pick, so you're going to go.
So it'll be interesting to see if he leaves, then it's not nearly as deep a class as we think. But right now, you get Darnold, Josh Rosen, who I think is the most polished quarterback of the group.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
I think he is the best thrower of the group.
Yeah, I think it's okay. And you know what? If it wasn't clear, the apples to apples comparison, that USC UCLA game really it stood out to me. Just watching how much more polished he was in the pocket, going through progressions and making NFL type throws compared to Darnold, who seems to really be at his best when he's extending and has the chaos.
Okay. You answer that. I was going to ask that about. I think the same thing about Rosen as far as that throwing ability.
You mentioned 3 in the top 5. The 4th quarterback you have going in the first round is Baker Mayfield, the Heisman winner out of Oklahoma. Look, if you have him going 19 to the Chargers, and I'll just be honest with you, from a draft perspective, if that's where Baker Mayfield goes, the first night's going to be epic, because you want that guy that everyone has questions about, especially at a quarterback, to maybe go towards the back end of the first round. Adam Schefter has gone on and said he believes that Baker's going to go a lot higher than people think. David Pollack thinks he should be the first quarterback taken. What do you think are the comparable quarterbacks to Baker Mayfield that he might be at the next level?
I think probably the best comparison to me, and I'm not saying it's identical,
right?
But I think Russell Wilson is close. I think it's Russell Wilson maybe with a little on the field Johnny Manziel to his game, where he thrives in the chaos. But Russell Wilson's kind of the same. I think he's a little bit more developed as a passer and a little bit twitchier, but I think a lot of the similar characteristics, and just studying the tape, I think Russell Wilson's an adequate comparison. Obviously, when you look at Baker, he's around 6 foot. He's a little bit taller, but still not size is not at his advantage.
But he's thick like Russell.
He is. He's thick and strong, and he's done a good job protecting himself. He's been durable. He has I think he's going to end his career 45, 46 starts, which if you go back and study it, it seems like the simplest thing in the world, but there is a correlation between college experience and future NFL success at the quarterback position. So Baker, I'll be honest with you, when I started the process in the summer, watched the tape, I gave him a day 2 grade. And that's a quarterback to me. That's okay. It's going to be a great backup. Maybe he can develop into a starter, but we're not counting on it and investing that much money. This year, he has improved so much with his accuracy. His arm seems stronger. Maybe it's just seeing him live. He has more juice on his throws than I remember or thought watching off of tape. And, I know that he had those incidents, and I know there's some immaturity questions that need to be answered. But when you see him live, his ability to just galvanize the team, the energy he brings, he's got something special in terms of the intangibles.
He certainly does, but you and I know, having done this long enough, there are going to be 2 sort of measurables that will determine just how high he goes besides the arm strength and everything else. One's going to be the speed. Is he going to have the same speed close to Russell in the 40 time? Because Russell is elusive because he's a little faster than people think. So I will be curious to see exactly what Baker's 40 time is going to be because of the way he plays. And the other thing that not many people talk about, but is going to be a huge thing, is hand size. Do we know what his hand size is yet?
I don't think we have it.
Because that's going to be a big deal for a guy that's undersized.
It didn't show up. I've seen. I think it's in the 9.3 range. I think it's adequate. I think it's solid.
Because that's going to be a concern.
I've already got Mort texting me this morning about one of the other quarterbacks' hand sizes and thinking that I'm heading down the wrong path with it.
Now explain to people why that's such a big bugaboo for talent evaluators in the NFL. Hand size for a quarterback.
Well, it's first of all gripping a ball in the rain and different situations like that, and also there's a high correlation between guys with smaller hands and ball security, just protecting the football and being able to, pump fakes, different things like that. But when you're carrying the ball and you don't have a chance to get two hands on it and defenders are wrapping you up and going to bat the ball away, guys with the bigger hands are typically the ones who do a better job protecting it.
It's Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. We're talking with Todd McShay, just released his first mock draft. You can check it out now on ESPN.com. The fourth quarterback one we haven't talked about, you have him going number 5 to the Broncos. They're going to try again with a first-rounder. Josh Allen from Wyoming, who is just a specimen.
He is.
Firing that ball and his size in the pocket. And he struggled at times this year, depleted receiver core. I know all that, but he's also the least quarterback anybody has seen, of not of people who are breaking this down, but of the general public.
Right.
Because of being at Wyoming.
The only two times people nationally saw him were Oregon and Iowa, where they didn't play well.
So does he get a bump from the fact that, look what Carson Wentz, look the school he came from, North Dakota State, and look at how well he's doing, big strapping quarterback. Maybe Allen can do the same thing.
He's, to me, the most interesting of all of these quarterbacks because he has the best physical tools.
Oh, yeah.
God just doesn't make many guys with his frame, his arm, and his mobility.
Unreal.
He makes throws where you say, whoa. You just don't see a lot of that out there. But he makes decisions where you say, whoa.
What are you doing?
You cannot get away with this.
Well,
so mentally, he's not nearly as advanced as Carson Wentz was coming out of school. And I think that's the difference. Same coaching staff, same system. Certainly Allen has improved and matured. He's competitive. He's tough, just like Wentz is. But I think that's the difference. Whereas Allen has better physical tools, Wentz, I think, was mentally more he just picked things up quicker and had a better grasp of football intelligence or knowledge.
And if you're a Broncos fan, the best news is he's 6'5", he's not 6'7".
Yeah.
Because Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch, we laugh, but that makes a huge difference in your ability to move and set and get your feet right.
The release.
Players that tall, just 6'7" doesn't seem to work in the NFL.
Very few,
And then there's one other one, real quickly, I know we got to go. Mason Rudolph, how close was he to being in the top 5? Being a first-round quarterback?
I think he'll go in the second round.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson's another one it's just a really difficult evaluation because he does things from an athletic standpoint that most guys can't do, but can he hold up physically? Can he continue to develop as a pocket passer? Those are the two really intriguing players because they have special qualities, but there's some development that needs to occur with both of them. And I think second round is probably fair with those, but this is a really deep group. Right. I mean, you can go down the line and some other quarterbacks that maybe don't have big names, but this is a really deep group of quarterbacks and one of the better top to bottom groups we've seen in a while.
We mentioned a couple. We mentioned the Cars and now the Moody Blues and what that's about. Next April in Cleveland, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, your inductees will be the award for early influence is Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and then the performer category, Bon Jovi, the Cars, Dire Straits, the Moody Blues, and Nina Simone. So congratulations to all for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And we were talking a little bit with McShay about Baker Mayfield and the hand size. And this is why this is such a big deal. Tim Keown, writes for ESPN.com, wrote about Baker Mayfield by saying his hands are small, much smaller than the hands you expect to throw a football, actually at a long distance. They're so small, they almost shrivel into his wrists. Shaking hands with him feels like grabbing a set of keys. He's practically a kangaroo.
That's one hell of an explanation of somebody's hands.
That's a very, very descriptive, but that's why it's such a big deal. And just so you know, the players that are in the draft know this. Brandon Allen, who is now on the Rams, the former quarterback at Arkansas, he knew his hand sizes were going to be an issue in the draft when he was a quarterback at Arkansas. So he went on to YouTube and figured out ways to stretch his hands to make them bigger. And his hand was measured at 8.5 inches at the Senior Bowl, but it was measured at 8 7/8 inches at the Combine, thanks to massage work. So players really do understand how critical teams feel that is.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is just amazing to me. All right, again, Todd McShay's first draft is out. Went over the top 5 because 3 were quarterbacks, so we'll give you a few more here. Again, to the Browns, number 1, Sam Darnold. Giants, number 2, Josh Rosen. Colts, number 3, Bradley Chubb, the pass rusher from North Carolina State. 49ers, the defensive back from Alabama, Minkah Fitzpatrick. And the Broncos taking Josh Allen, the quarterback out of Wyoming. Continuing on, he has the Browns taking Saquon Barkley, the running back out of Penn State. And says basically this is a value pick, so we'll see where it goes. The Bucs, Tampa Bay, taking Clelin Ferrell, the D lineman DN from Clemson. They're going to have a couple in the first round, let me tell you that. The Bears, Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver from Alabama. The Jets at number 9, the DN Arden Key from LSU. Number 10 for the Bengals, the tackler Connor Williams from Texas, who is not playing in that team's bowl game while preparing for the draft. And Todd has him going. He's the first offensive lineman to go in this draft at 10. Number 11, he has the Cardinals taking the tackle from Notre Dame, Mike McGlinchey. 12, the Raiders, a cornerback, Denzel Ward from Ohio State. Then you have Derwin James from Florida State going to the Redskins. Quentin Nelson.
He can play so many different positions.
He absolutely can. And then maybe the best lineman in the draft, Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame, going number 14 to the Dolphins.
Yep.
So that's your first 14 picks there. Again, Baker Mayfield, the quarterback to the Chargers.
At 19.
At 19. So 4 quarterbacks going right now in the first round in this draft.
All right, so that's what's going on. Again, there'll be more mock drafts coming up. We'll have Todd on NFL Live today to talk a little bit more about it. By the way, guest tomorrow in Golic and Wingo will be Simone Askew, the Army Cadet Rhodes Scholar.
Yes.
Congratulations. She was a big part of the Army win over Navy. Adam Schefter and Scottie Pippen. And, we made fun of Junior yesterday. He had some issues with the past tense of the word succumb.
Right.
He used succumb as opposed to succumbed.
Oh, no.
Well, let me just say like father, like son, because this is what you tried to say today, and I'm not sure it really went the way you wanted.
And those veterans will be shift-shaped around. There we go.
I think it was shape-shifted.
I have no idea.
There you go. It was awesome, though.
Why did I do it?
We appreciate you.
Shut
and
up.
we appreciate you. Thanks for listening, Golic and Wingo. We'll see you tomorrow.
I hate you, Trey.